Welcome. It's the Matic. It's the illest bird in the land. Welcome. It's the Matic. Welcome back to Matic, guys. What is going on, Legends? Thank you so much for commenting, liking, and subscribing, and also returning to the channel, Legends. Thank you so much. Let's get into today's new video. Today's new video is a movie review on one of the newer Marvel films that's out right now, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Let's get into it. So, let's talk about this. So, this movie is pretty much based around Rocket Raccoon and him having an emergency, and the Guardians pretty much trying to save Rocket Raccoon's life, pretty much. What I also liked about this film is that this movie we learned about his past before the Guardians came along. I really did enjoy that. We also learned his connection with one of the villains within the film. So that kind of works out. The flashback sequences flowed kind of pretty well. I was like, you know what? I'm not a big fan of flashback sequences if they don't really work well, but it really worked well. We learned about his previous friends that he had before the Guardians. We learned about his creator, which is also the villain, and also just how the way he was and how he got his name. I really like that they did tend to learn. We learned about his origin story. That was something I always wondered. I said, James Gunn, are we gonna get an origin story for Rocket Raccoon? And this movie was the answer to it. Okay. The other thing that I thought was interesting with this film is how they used Gamora. Gamora wasn't your typical Gamora that we got from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 and 2 or Avengers at all, Infinity War. And that worked. I think Thanos would love Gamora now. She's very fierce, very dominant. And Quill is having a hard time to deal with Gamora because he's looking at her as like, yo, you're the Gamora I remember, and this is how we were, in love and everything. And this movie does kind of focus on it, but not as much. But it works. We see that they are not lovers like they once were. Quill having to deal with it, also known as Star-Lord, having to deal with it in a way where it's like, well, I get it. You're not the person that I once was. Also, what I liked about this film is how they use Nebula in this film to some degree. I was like, okay, Nebula was kind of like the wingman to Star-Lord when it came to Gamora. I thought that was kind of like cute in a way. We also see the relationship between Drax and Drax the Destroyer and Mantis, and kind of how their relationship was. I think Drax was very close to Mantis, and they eventually have their ups and downs. So overall, that worked. The other thing that really worked for this film pretty much is still the soundtracks. Guardians is known for soundtracks, and I think with most movies, soundtracks either build up the anticipation for movies or it doesn't at all. But with Guardians, they always tend to use tracks. They use the Beastie Boys, Earth, Wind, and Fire. There were some other tracks that they used, and I say, yo, they they really know what they're doing when it comes to soundtracks. And that's something that works with movies because it makes the scenes a little bit more memorable or iconic. That works. Also, I think with this movie, Marvel took a risk with this. There is some profanity in this movie, and this is probably not a kid's movie. I mean, it's definitely a hard PG-13. Okay, a hard PG-13. But this is not a kid's movie due to the profanity, and how they use the animals in this movie will probably upset some people because I know some of you guys love animals. And Rocket, how they treated Rocket is gonna probably upset some people and either some of the other animals. But yeah, this is gonna be something where you're like, not for the kids. The other thing that I thought that this movie really focused on, we saw the relationship between Rocket and the High Revolutionary, their relationship, creator and the creation type of thing where they kind of have their issues with one another. The High Revolutionary has this God complex. He's like, yo, I'm supposed to know everything. I am the all knowing, and Rocket Raccoon is his creation, you know what I'm saying? And he's smarter than him. And I think that was something that he hated about him. You know, it's like, how could you know all these things that we're doing? And how did you figure it out? And I think that was something that irritated him. You know what I'm saying? I like that we learned about how he treated Rocket and why they had their issues with one another. That's all I'm gonna say because I don't want to say too much. But I thought this movie has some really cool action sequences. The very end action sequence when the Guardians got back together. I love the scene where we think Rocket is gonna like fight the High Revolutionary solo, and it seems like the Guardians kind of come to his aid to some degree. So there's some spoilers in this, so forgive me. That was really executed, and I like the other scene where they're kind of fighting to find out what they can do to save Rocket, you know, from Ashley dying. This is an emotional roller coaster. I know there some people got a little emotional when the movie got to certain scenes, so it is a tearjerker. It's a bit darker than the previous Guardians movies, but it worked. You know what I'm saying? It had a more serious tone to it. Still has some comedic aspects to the movie, which is not a bad thing, but it's more of a darker movie than we've seen before from James Gunn, and that was interesting. You know, I'm used to with his movies it being overly comical, but this right here had a decent darker tone. But let's get into the things I did not like about the movie and then the review. So the things I didn't like about this movie, I felt like Marvel Studios really missed the mark with doing a standalone Rocket Raccoon movie. I get that the movie is mainly around Rocket Raccoon. I'm not against it, but I felt like they could have did a movie where pretty much we learned about Rocket's days before joining the Guardians of the Galaxy. And I would have been like interested in seeing it. He's an interesting character enough where I'd be like, you know what? I would like to see a solo movie on him after he left and pretty much, decided to do something with his life. Yeah, it's a miss. The next thing I want to talk to you guys about is pretty much the second villain for the movie. Adam Warlock character, I felt like it was a letdown. It was a letdown. I was like, so y'all mean to tell me y'all made him into Pinocchio for this movie? That's really what he was. He was like the Pinocchio for the movie, and he was like, I don't know, man. I felt like we didn't get enough of his character. I felt like Avengers 3 and 4 could have introduced his character so we could have got a background story more on this character. I felt like that was missing. I was like, okay, the other villain, we got the backstory. We don't have any backstory. We just know you going after the Guardians for this particular reason. And I was like, yep, this is a letdown. I wish they would have explored that element a bit more. But they didn't. So that was the issue. My next issue is with this film. This formula has been used before for a film. When it comes to Ant-Man, Quantumanium, and Thor: Love and Thunder, I felt like, yes, space adventures or inner adventures, because that was on Earth. Ant-Man. I felt like this formula has already been used, so it's a bit recycled. And I was like, it'd been interesting to see if y'all could have did something different, with this film. The next thing I would like to say is I felt like this film was too long, y'all. I'm not gonna sit here. There was moments where I'm like, y'all could have cut out certain scenes for this movie, and I felt like this could have been a better like movie if they would have cut out certain scenes. I felt like some scenes were not necessary to be in it. Like there's a scene where Drax Mantis gets this guy attracted to like pretty much Drax the Destroyer. I could have went without that. You know what I'm saying? But let's get to the review. Okay. I'm gonna give this movie a B plus. It was actually really good. I just felt like, you know, certain things could have been better. I want to say one thing. I felt like the ending was really good. I did not expect the ending to be as good as I thought it was gonna be. But have you guys seen Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, guys? You tell me in the comments, guys. And my next question is, what is your favorite Guardians of the Galaxy movie? If you have one, it is a blur. Living in the world, guys. Thanks for commenting, liking, and subscribing. And I'm out. Thank you for the support now. The support now.